What if I told you Avatar, The Last Airbender, wasn't actually supposed to end with Season 3? For years, fans believed the story was always meant to stop after Aang defeated Fire Lord Ozai. But behind the scenes, something completely different was happening. The creators and writers were seriously discussing a full fourth season, complete with brand new storylines, emotional character arcs, and mysteries that were never resolved. And once you discover what they had planned, it's hard not to wonder how different the Avatar universe could have been today. Before we uncover those lost stories, we first have to go back to 2008, when Avatar was at the absolute peak of its popularity. The final season had become one of the biggest television events of the year. Millions of fans gathered to watch Aang's final battle against Ozai, while Nickelodeon promoted the finale like a Hollywood blockbuster. The excitement was everywhere. Every episode of the four-part finale attracted millions of viewers, making Avatar one of the biggest animated shows on television. Everything about the ending felt unforgettable. Zuko finally became Fire Lord. Aang mastered the Avatar state. Peace returned to the world. Felt like the perfect ending. But then, right before the credits rolled, Zuko turned toward his father and asked one simple question. "Where is my mother?" And just like that, the screen faded to black. No answer, no explanation, just a mystery that left millions of fans convinced another season had to be coming. Looking back now, that scene almost feels like a promise. It didn't feel like a goodbye. It felt like the beginning of a brand new chapter. And surprisingly, the fans weren't imagining things. Behind the scenes, conversations about Season 4 were already taking place. According to Avatar head writer Aaron Ehasz, one of the series' original creators, Michael Dante DiMartino, even approached him about the possibility of leading a fourth season. For a brief moment, continuing Avatar wasn't just wishful thinking. It was a real possibility. But then, everything changed. Instead of moving forward with another animated season, the creators made a decision that would completely reshape the future of the franchise. They chose to focus on something much bigger, or at least what they believed would become something bigger: the live-action Avatar movie. At the time, the decision actually made sense. Imagine spending years creating one of the most beloved animated worlds ever made, only to be offered the chance to bring that universe to the big screen with a major Hollywood production. Very few creators ever receive an opportunity like that. From their perspective, it probably felt like the next natural step. And Nickelodeon believed it too. Executives reportedly imagined an enormous future for Avatar, including multiple live-action films, more animated projects, and an expanded cinematic universe. If the movie succeeded, the franchise could become bigger than ever before. Unfortunately, history had other plans. The film failed to live up to expectations, the planned expansion quietly disappeared, and Season 4 was left behind before it ever had the chance to become reality. But here's the fascinating part. Even though the season was canceled, its ideas didn't disappear. Over the years, interviews, convention panels, podcasts, and social media posts slowly revealed pieces of what the writers had originally planned. Hidden across all those conversations is the blueprint for an Avatar season that fans never got to watch. And trust me, some of those ideas were absolutely incredible. Because one storyline, in particular, would have completely changed the future of one of Avatar's most controversial characters, Azula. If you ask most Avatar fans what Season 4 would have been about, you'll probably hear the same answer: finding Zuko's mother. While that certainly would have been an important storyline, it wasn't the one the writers were most excited about. The story they truly wanted to tell centered around someone nobody expected: Azula. And honestly, this could have become one of the greatest redemption arcs in television history. At the end of Season 3, Azula completely falls apart. She loses her friends, loses her throne, loses the final Agni Kai against Zuko and Katara, and finally suffers a total mental breakdown. Most viewers saw that moment as the end of her story. But according to head writer Aaron Ehasz, that wasn't supposed to be the ending at all. In his original vision, that breakdown was only the beginning. He explained that Azula hadn't actually reached rock bottom yet. she still had an even darker emotional journey ahead of her before she could begin healing. And that's what makes this idea so fascinating. Season 4 wasn't going to magically turn Azula into a good person overnight. There wasn't going to be one emotional speech that suddenly fixed everything. Instead, the writers wanted to show something much more realistic. Healing, slowly, painfully, one step at a time. That's exactly what made Zuko's redemption so powerful, and Aaron wanted to use that same philosophy again. Only this time, Zuko would become the person helping someone else find the light. Think about how incredible that would have been. The brother who was once consumed by anger becoming the only person capable of understanding his broken sister. Instead of fighting each other, they'd finally be forced to face the emotional damage their father had caused both of them. And here's the detail almost everyone misses. Azula's biggest wound wasn't only Ozai. It was also her mother, Ursa. For years, Azula convinced herself that Ursa never truly loved her. She believed her own mother feared her and cared only about Zuko. Whether those beliefs were true or not didn't really matter anymore. Azula accepted them as reality, and those feelings slowly shaped the person she became. Every cruel decision, every desperate attempt to prove herself, every obsession with perfection came from that emotional scar. Meanwhile, Ozai rewarded those unhealthy beliefs instead of helping her overcome them. Without Ursa in her life, Azula never had anyone who could challenge the way she saw herself. That's why I think the writers were heading toward something much bigger than a simple redemption story. Imagine Zuko and Azula traveling together to search for their missing mother. Not as enemies, but as two damaged siblings trying to understand the past that destroyed their family. Every conversation would force them to confront old memories. Every step of the journey would slowly break down the walls Azula spent her entire life building around herself. And for the first time, she might finally hear the words she'd been waiting to hear since she was a child. That she was loved. That she wasn't beyond saving. That she didn't have to become Ozai. Honestly, I would have loved to watch that story unfold. Because redemption isn't interesting when it's easy. It's interesting when someone has to fight against everything they've believed about themselves. And nobody in Avatar had a harder battle ahead than Azula. But believe it or not, she wasn't the only character whose future was going to change. The writers also had an entirely different plan for Aang after defeating Ozai. Instead of living happily ever after, Aang would have carried a burden that the finale barely had time to explore. And that single idea completely changes the way we understand the ending of Avatar. When Avatar ended, it looked like Aang had finally found peace. He defeated Ozai without taking a life, restored balance to the world, and stayed true to everything he believed in. For most viewers, it felt like the perfect ending. But according to head writer Aaron Ehasz, the story wasn't supposed to end there. In fact, Season 4 was going to ask a question the finale never had time to explore. What was the true cost of taking away someone's bending? Most fans see energy bending as Aang's perfect solution. He saved the world without breaking his moral code. But Aaron imagined something much deeper. During a Comic-Con panel, he explained that energy bending wasn't supposed to be free. Every great power should come with an equally great consequence. His idea was that when Aang removed Ozai's bending, he didn't simply erase that darkness from the world. He absorbed part of it himself. Think about that for a moment. Instead of ending the story as a completely peaceful hero, Aang would have spent Season 4 carrying an invisible spiritual burden. The evil he removed from Ozai would have become something he constantly struggled to control. Suddenly, the finale becomes much more emotional. Aang didn't escape sacrifice. He became the sacrifice. And once again, the person helping him through that darkness wasn't Katara. It was Zuko. That's something I find incredibly interesting. According to Aaron's ideas, Zuko wasn't just becoming Fire Lord. He was becoming the emotional support for everyone around him. While helping Azula begin healing from years of trauma, he'd also helping understand the weight of becoming the Avatar after the war. In many ways, Season 4 wasn't going to be another story about saving the world. It was going to be about learning how to live after saving it. That's a completely different kind of story, and honestly, one we rarely get to see in fantasy adventures. But Aang's journey didn't stop there. Aaron also revealed another fascinating idea involving the future of the air nomads. Rumors would begin spreading across the world that a naturally born airbender had appeared for the first time in over 100 years. Hearing those whispers, Aang would immediately wonder if this mysterious child could somehow be connected to his past. More specifically, could this child be the reincarnation of Monk Gyatso? It's such a beautiful concept because it isn't really about reincarnation. It's about friendship. Aaron described the theme as exploring whether true friendships can survive across multiple lifetimes. That's an idea that fits perfectly within Avatar's spiritual world, and it could have become one of the most emotional storylines in the entire franchise. But there was one final mystery Aaron hinted at before Season 4 disappeared forever. He once revealed that he had planned a storyline involving Ko the Face Stealer and Uncle Iroh. Unfortunately, he never explained exactly what that story would have been. And honestly, that's probably the biggest mystery of them all. How do you connect one of the wisest characters in Avatar with one of its most terrifying spirits? Fans have spent years creating theories. Some believe Ko may have been connected to the death of Iroh's son, Lu Ten. Others think Iroh would have entered the spirit world searching for answers only Ko possessed. We may never know which direction the writers intended, but the fact that this storyline even existed shows just how ambitious Season 4 was becoming. Looking back, it's easy to understand why fans still talk about the lost fourth season all these years later. It wasn't simply another adventure. It was a story about healing after war. For Aang, for Zuko, for Azula, and maybe even for the entire world. We'll probably never see Aaron Ehash's complete vision brought to life. But every interview, every panel, and every behind-the-scenes comment gives us another small glimpse into the Avatar season that almost existed. And honestly, that might be one of the greatest what-if stories in animation history. So now I want to ask you one question. If Avatar Season 4 had actually been made, which storyline would you have wanted to see the most? Azula's redemption? Aang's spiritual burden? Or the mystery of Ko and Iroh? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Avatar's lost history, don't forget to subscribe, because there are still countless hidden stories, canceled ideas, and behind-the-scenes secrets waiting to be uncovered. Until next time, thanks for watching.